So my brand new Panasonic HC-VX870 is charged up and ready to go. So the next thing we're going to do is get an SD card in there so I can have some sort of media to record onto. Now this is a Samsung Evo SDXC card. I don't know if you can see it there, but obviously you have the micro SD card, used to be called Trans Flash. Then you have the blank here. We're going to have to put this in the blank so that it'll fit in the camera. Now, if you saw my last video, you know that the SD card slot is on the bottom here. And of course, SD cards only go in one way, so I don't know which way that is. It's not that way. It is this way, I think. No, not that way either. So I had it right the first time. Just not lined up. So there we go. But let's look at the lens here, lens to lens, camera to camera, and see if that opens up when I open up the door here. Okay, doesn't. So there must be a switch in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, that power button here. So let's hit that. And there we go. So you see how the automatic lens cap opens up there. And here we go. So we have the touchscreen here, set home region and date and time. So we're going to do that. So as you can see, it has Toronto, New York, Miami, and Lima, Peru. All of those areas selected already, so it probably defaults to that time zone, Eastern time zone. I'm going to hit enter here. Now it wants to put the date and time. So this camera must have come out originally in 2015. Right now it's 2018. So it is not January 1st, so let's change that to, let's go down here, November. And clock settings is completed. Good. Let's see what's coming up next. Okay, so it goes straight to recording mode. So we have a couple things on screen here. We have a tight and a wide. We have a record button on screen, it looks like. Then it looks like we have a couple arrows down here. It has the date and, well, just the date down here. And then some information up here. Now this right here was, if you remember from my last video, if you didn't see my last video, that's fine. There's a link to it at the end of this video. But over here is an icon. I don't know if you can actually see it right there. So it's showing how much tilt you have on that camera. Now, the mystery button over here is the same icon. So this does have a steady shot ability on this camera, so I would imagine, let's see what happens when we press this button here. I'm actually going to bring a darker background in here. Let's press this button here and see what happens. Okay, so that turns on and off the steady shot. So that's firing this up for the first time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some test shots. I'm going to use it a little bit before I actually film my first video. So let me do a couple things on here and then I'll get back with you and report to you what I think. Okay, so I've been messing around with this camera, trying to get myself acquainted with the different functions. What I think I will do now is kind of go through some of the functions on the camera itself and explain them. So the first of which is this button up here. Now again, you can touch things on the screen. It's a touch screen, so you can adjust the settings that way. And this is the different settings that you can use for image capture here. So Intelligent Auto has all the settings are auto. I kind of like that, and I'm leaning towards using that. Intelligent Auto Plus, and I'm not pressing this hard enough here. Intelligent Auto Plus is a lot of the settings are automatically chosen for you, but you can have some manual settings. So this function, this next one here, is called Creative Control, and it cannot be used in MP4 or iframe format. So that's, haven't tried it out yet, but that's an option there. HDR here, high dynamic range, basically is color correction on there so that you get the best color contrast in what you're filming. This one is the different kinds of modes that you want to use. So you have a sports mode, you have, what is this? Portrait mode, soft skin mode, spotlight mode, snow mode, because everything will be white, beach mode, because everything will be yellow, Sunset, it's actually changing the colors here, so it's more of an orange. So maybe it's not even a mode for these, it's just sort of the different colors that it's going to maybe overlay on there. I haven't tried it out, so I don't know, but these are different options here. Obviously, a sports mode would be optimizing the camera for a lot of action and a lot of speed. Things that the subjects that you're filming would have a lot of speed to them. As far as snow, maybe you use it in the snow, or maybe that's the kind of effect that it gives. The only reason I'm saying that is because it seems like it's tinting everything when you choose these things. So beach is a little more of an orange mode. Sunset is even more orange. Scenery here seems like it's going back more to the snow mode, more white in tone. Fireworks, again, more of an orange tone there. Night scenery, again, going towards more of the white tones, probably accentuating light if you're filming things at night. And then low light. So this is a manual mode here. You can change things manually, and then you have your little menu to the left here, and then you have these little buttons down here which scroll from right to left. So you have the different menu options here that you can go through with the little buttons here. I'm not going to use manual. Again, I'm going to use the intelligent auto mode. I think that'll suffice. Over here we have the slow motion mode. So slow motion, to record in slow motion, apparently you put it in slow motion mode and then you hold this down to record in slow motion. Now it's not picking up audio to do that. I think, let's see, let's turn the camera on to record and then put it in slow mode here. Move it around a little bit. I don't know if you can see anything, but there is a wood grain going on there. Let's turn that off. The interesting thing is, though, that you have to hold that button down on the screen to actually initiate it. So the next one is 4K photo. So what happens here is that you're going to record video in 4K, but it's optimized so that if you want to pull a photograph from that video, you should be able to do it much easier than you would if you were filming in another function. So I've turned off the lights here, and I wanted to show you one of the things that this camera does. The interesting thing is that the manual that you do get with this camera seems to cover the most important features, but it doesn't cover all of the features. You actually have to go and download a PDF for getting all of the nitty-gritty, the bits and pieces of the camera's functions. And you might notice that there is a light here on the camera. So you can see there that that's an auto function. So when I'm pointing it towards a light, it turns off, and then when I point it towards something dark again, it should turn on. There you go. So I haven't found a way thus far to manually operate that. Of course, I would imagine it exists. So let's dive into the menu here. Bring that back up again here so you can see some of the different functions here. So you have the record setup that is for video, you have the picture setup that is for audio, and then you have the setup which is for the camera itself. So I'm not pressing it hard enough, you kind of have to press it. I know it's seeming like it's not very responsive, but it is if you press it a little harder than I am. So you have, some of the, I'm just going to scroll through these and kind of explain them. Obviously the display settings, what you want going on here. The clock set, we did that, set world time. Link clock to daylight savings. We're not in daylight savings right now. Let's see, date and time, date format, zoom, record, display, optical image stabilization, lock display. These are things that you can get in there and mess with. There are 8 pages of these things. So external display, that's this right here, economy mode for battery and AC. You notice it's on economy for the battery. You can change that if you want. Not economy for the AC adapter. Quick power on is on. Alert sound. Obviously you're hearing little sounds right now as I scroll through this. Select operation icons. Power LCD. LCD set. HDMI resolution. I'm keeping a lot of this stuff as it was, when I get it out of the box. If I find that I do need to augment it, I'll do that as time goes on. Viera link, TV aspect, initial set, reset Wi-Fi settings. Now, I was going to put this on my home wireless network to use some of the wireless functions on this. One of the things, if you watched my previous video, you might have noticed that I said I might want to take the photos off of this, or the videos off of this via Wi-Fi, and put it on my editing rig that way. The more I thought of it, though, I thought, well, that's going to be a slower option to actually taking the SD card out of here and putting it into the computer. So I think I'm going to go with that. So I opted not to use the Wi-Fi on the camera at the moment. If you do want to use that secondary camera mode where you can actually do the picture-in-picture, we'll actually try and attempt to do that in this video here. You can set that up with Wi-Fi if you want. I'm going to try and do it with the NFC, so we'll get into that later. So I don't know where okay, I think I left off at Wi-Fi settings. Auto cursor position, number reset, format media. The SD card I put in there, I actually did reformat it just to make sure. It said it was reading that there was nothing on there, but I formatted it anyway just so I wouldn't have any issues. Media status, so let's see, we got, you can see right here, remaining time on that 64 gig SD card at 1080p. I think that's 30 frames a second there. We're at 5 hours and 32 minutes of record time on that SD card. I think my optimal, even though this camera does 4K, I think my optimal at this point, because of the amount of space that 4K video takes up, I think I'm going to go with 1080p 60 frames a second. I think at least that's what I'm going to do out of the gate. So that will probably be cut in half for the 64 gigabyte SD card that I have in there. But as you can see, none of it's used and it's ready to go. It should be used because I actually have a couple of small videos on there, but it's not showing up as pretty much anything. Let's see, you can do a firmware version info, and you can do a firmware upgrade. I tried to do the firmware upgrade and it wanted an SD card, so maybe that's how you accomplish it. Of course, like I said, I did not link this up to the Wi-Fi, so maybe that's an option. Again, none of this was in the manual that I got with the camera. I'm going to have to get the PDF to get more information on that. You have a demo mode, it's on, that's fine. If nothing's happening with the camera for a while, it'll go into sort of this demo mode on the screen here. And I don't really care one way or another about that. Optical image stabilization demo, software info, online manual. So let's just see that. URL display, USB connect. Okay, so you can generate a QR code if you want, and then you can go to the website. I don't know, the website, you know, for the online manual, I can get, I think it's a PDF, but I can get that as we discussed before. Language, obviously I'm speaking English, and back again. So those are all of your options that you have in the setup. Then we can go to picture. Now I'm generally not going to use picture function of this, I don't think. I've really never used a video camera to take pictures. I'll usually use my cell phone for that. But picture size, you can change it from 2.1 megabytes to 14 megabytes. I think that's pretty much your two options there. I'll just leave it at the 14. You know, again, something I'm not going to be using. So the record setup here, we got 6 pages of this. We have zoom mode, I'm going to leave that. Record format. So right now it's an MP4/iframe. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using what I'm going to be using on here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to try the MP4. I might go back to AVCHD. That's what I usually have been recording on. That's what I'm recording right now on the camera that you're watching this on. So I haven't really figured out, because I have used AVCHD so much, I might want to try something else out. So we might try, like I said, I was trying to scroll there. So let's go back, because I don't want 4K. I'm going to go in there. Now the record mode, like I said, I want to do the 60 frames a second here. So I'm going to change it to that. So that's what I'm going to be recording. Any video that I record with this camera going forward, or at least starting off, and that might change moving forward. I definitely want to try the 4K at some point, but again, if I'm doing a 20-minute video at 4K, that file is going to be huge, not only to render, but also to upload onto YouTube. So slow motion setup, we've gone through that a little bit. Backup for twin camera, that's the function where you can have the picture-in-picture. Pre-record, I really don't know what that is. Pre-record, so maybe it's recording now. I don't know what that even means. So that's a mystery for another time. So let's go back to the menu here. Face framing. Hybrid optical image stabilization is on. Fade off. Fade color black. Guidelines, kind of so you can frame up your shot. Level gauge. I do have that off right now. Again, I use a tripod a lot, so I don't think I'll use that or have any use for it at this time. AGS is anti-ground shooting, so that actually it's off right now, which is good. But it will turn recordings off if you have the camera upside down or if you're recording the ground for a prolonged period of time. Basically, it's a fail-safe that if you have the record going on, when you don't want it going on, it'll shut the camera off on its own. So what I've heard about it, I've never used it and probably will never use it, but what I've heard about it is that it activates if you have the camera upside down while you're recording or pointing towards the ground. So that would tell the camera, typically you wouldn't want to, that's not an intended recording, so it's going to shut the camera off. You have a backlight compensation here, video light, there we go. So right now it's on auto, so we finally found that. You can turn it on, off, whatever. I'll keep it on auto right now. Shooting guide is on. Wide conversion lens set, it's off. Sound scene select on auto, I'm going to keep that. Right now we have 5.1 channel versus 2 channels, so it looks like the auto has selected 2 channels. I don't know how that's going to work. Probably going to keep it on the 2 channels at the moment, but I might want to expand that to a 5.1 channel depending. Mic setup, stereo mic, and mic level is auto. So I like a lot of the auto functions on here thus far, and you know, that pretty much covers the functions here. So one other thing I do want to cover is that there is an LED down here that's indicating if the camera is recording to the SD card. So let's see, actually might as well just record right now. So that's pretty much just a warning not to pull the SD card out while it's being recorded to. You don't want to ruin your expensive SD card. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was, again, a high-level look at what this camera offers in terms of functions. I filmed it right when I turned this on for the first time, so there's some things that I know a little bit more about now after using it for several months, but there's also things that I'd never delved into much further because I like to keep it on the auto functions. But all in all, I really like the camera. If you want to know what the quality of this camera is, you know, check out my channel. I'm filming a lot of newer videos with this camera. So that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. If you like what you see, please subscribe. And as always, if you want to help out my channel, you can give me a thumbs up. You can share this video on your favorite social media. You can join my Patreon. All of those things are greatly appreciated. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.